For years, the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 has haunted the world. It wasn't just a plane vanishing from radar. It was an event that defied logic, a mystery that left behind questions no one could answer. Was it a crash, a hijacking, a conspiracy, or something far more extraordinary? After all this time, what if someone came forward claiming to have survived? What if they had a story that was too unbelievable to ignore? March 8, 2014, a date etched into history. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, heading for Beijing. On board were 227 passengers and 12 crew members, ordinary people going about their lives. But fate had something unimaginable in store. Less than an hour into the flight, something went wrong. Communication ceased, and the plane vanished from radar, leaving no trace. Families were devastated, experts were baffled, and the world watched in stunned silence. Now, moonlighters, imagine this. One of those passengers survived. Imagine someone emerging from the shadows to tell the world what really happened. This is his story, a story of survival, resilience, and a truth that challenges everything we think we know. Before I continue, be sure that you are a moonlighter. How do one become a moonlighter? It's simple. Simply subscribe to the channel, then like, comment, and share this video. According to the survivor, the journey began as uneventful as any other flight. Passengers settled in for the trip, sipping drinks, watching movies, and chatting. But as the plane flew over the South China Sea, things took a dark turn. It began with turbulence, unexpected and violent. The lights in the cabin flickered, and then, in an instant, everything went dark. The engines roared, the plane jolted, and passengers screamed as it began a terrifying descent. But then silence, utter and complete silence. When the survivor regained consciousness, he was not strapped into a seat floating in the ocean, his shirt taken off him and his pants wet. He was not surrounded by wreckage or rescue boats. Instead, he was on land, on an island, unlike anything he'd ever seen. Someplace unearthly. The sky was an eerie shade of blue, and the air was unnervingly still. The only sound was the gentle lapping of waves against the shore. He was alone, or so he thought. As the days passed, the survivor explored his surroundings. He discovered no fragments of the plane scattered across the island, pieces of seats, luggage, and even a section of the fuselage. Nothing that depicts a crash site, but there was no sign of other passengers or crew. Where's everybody? He pondered. It was as if the island had swallowed them whole. Then came the first sighting, strange markings carved into the rocks. Symbols and patterns that looked ancient yet impossibly intricate. And then the beings appeared. They weren't human, tall, radiant figures of light, their forms shimmering like waves of heat. They didn't speak, but they communicated in another way, through visions that appeared in the survivor's mind. In these visions, the survivor saw what had really happened. The plane hadn't crashed. It had been taken. These beings, whoever or whatever they were, had intervened. But why? The survivor couldn't understand their motives, only that he was caught in something far beyond human comprehension. For months, the survivor lived on the island, trying to piece together the fragments of their experience. He found strange objects buried in the sand, artifacts that seemed both technological and organic, pulsing faintly with energy. It was one of these objects that gave the survivor a glimmer of hope. Using the artifact, he managed to send a signal, an SOS that somehow reached Earth. It was a desperate move, but it worked. 6 months after the disappearance of Flight 370, a fishing boat off the coast of the Maldives spotted a man floating on a piece of debris. Dehydrated and barely alive, the survivor had returned. When the survivor was rescued, he had a story to tell, but it wasn't the story anyone expected. The media dismissed his claims as the ravings of a traumatized mind. Authorities chalked it up to delusion brought on by dehydration and exposure, asking the airline to confirm if his names and picture checks out with the passengers on the missing plane. But those who heard the survivor speak couldn't shake the feeling that there was something real, something true in his words. The survivor described the beings in detail, their appearance, their silence, their ability to communicate through thought. He talked about the island's strange energy, the artifacts, and the visions of unearthly ships hovering in the sky. And they shared the beings' message, a warning to humanity. According to the survivor, the beings had said, "What happened to Flight 370 is only the beginning. We are watching. We are waiting." What does this mean? Was the disappearance of Flight 370 part of something larger? An experiment? A test? A prelude to something we can't yet comprehend? The survivor's story raises more questions than answers. But one thing is clear. The mystery of Flight 370 is far from over. As we look up at the stars, wondering if we are alone in the universe, perhaps we should also look inward at the stories we dismiss, the mysteries we ignore, and the truths we may not be ready to face. Because sometimes the truth isn't just stranger than fiction. It's stranger than anything we can imagine. The truth is out there,